How's it going, everyone? This is Miles with Windows Central Gaming, and welcome to the 45th episode of Xbox Chaturdays. Today, I am stoked to be joined by not the first, one of the few third-timers on the show, Colteastwood. How are you doing on this fine Saturday, my man?
3 times? I don't even remember the second time. That's how amazing. You just like blow my brain right out of my skull. Yeah. Thanks for having me back. Of course, we're good friends, so we can talk gaming at ease.
It's going to be a fun show. It's been a really exciting week. We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about Xbox Game Pass growth. We're going to be talking about a 20-year anniversary stream for Xbox. We're going to be talking about some new Xbox games. We're going to be talking about Splinter Cell, Grand Theft Auto, and so much more. But before we get into all of that, Colt, for the people who don't know, let everyone know who you are and where they can find you.
Before I do that, what is this game we're looking at? What is this?
This is Murder House. So I got to give a huge shout out to this developer called Puppet Combo. And their whole niche is basically capturing the aesthetic and feel and vibe and sound of PS1 era survival horror games. So this is a game where you basically break into a house where a serial killer Easter bunny lives to film this documentary, and things go awry. So if you want to capture that 1998 era of survival horror, look up Puppet Combo. Great games, really cool aesthetic.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I thought we were like pulled back into time. But I'm Colteastwood. You probably know, I'm looking at your chat, like all of our friends are here, so yeah, I'm Colteastwood. I'm on YouTube and I'm on Twitter a lot, talking games, and just been talking about Xbox for like 4 years or so, and having a lot of fun doing it and meeting a lot of really cool people.
Yeah,
I actually had a dream last night that I was at E3, like it was E3 2020, and I had a dream that Major Nelson like walked up behind me, and I'm like, oh, hey, Major Nelson. And I was like trying to look for people that I could like meet that I know that we talked to. Anyway, it's so weird because you've got me on the show here. It's 9 o'clock in the morning where I'm at, and I just had that dream not too long ago. I'd share it with everyone.
The man loves Xbox so much that he dreams of Major Nelson. You gotta respect that. You gotta love that. No, I'm excited. I'm excited to have you on. I see a lot of amazing familiar faces in the chat. We got Binyabik, we got Poochie, we got Harjeet, and it's going to be a great show. The first topic we're going to jump right into is something that has been leaked, long discussed, has had a cloud of controversy surrounding it, and that is the Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy. Basically a remaster of Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. It's real, it's official. They've shown it off now. Ahead of this reveal, people were, very pessimistic about, Take-Two, Rockstar, reselling the same games over and over. There was a lot of speculation that maybe this would be a really lazy port of these 3 games. But what I want to talk about first is, how did you feel after you actually saw what they were doing with this? Because I personally was a little bit shocked by how much care it seems they put into making these games look fresh but still maintaining that kind of low poly feel.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure where you were going to land on this one, Miles, because I've been kind of like I've been scanning the landscape on social media, and it seems like almost half of the people are not cool with this remaster, and I can see why, but I can't help it. I'm excited. When I heard about this remaster in August, I cranked out a video where I grabbed a bunch of modded gameplay from 3 in Vice City and San Andreas, and I put together this video with like 100 like cut edits in it, and people were like, "Oh, that's bullcrap, Colt. That's not confirmed. That's not coming out. Oh, you're just making stuff up." And I'm like, because like a couple sites had reported about it. So it was one of those things where I'm pretty sure that someone knows something. So I said, this is the rumor that it's coming this year, and here it is. You're right. Like, the game isn't a remake. It's not like a full remaster. It's just kind of like one of those PC port type things, like modded ports. But the lighting does look really good. One of the cool things is the characters have fingers now instead of like
Yeah.
they used to do this. Come on, CJ, let's go get something to eat at Cluckin' Bell. And now, you know, a little more immersion.
Yeah. So there is a lot of care, and you know, it's up for debate whether or not this is worth the money, because they are charging full price for this. This is a full price release. It's a collection of 3 beloved games.
They didn't do the Rockstar 70 miles.
That's true. It's
They did
60.
the Xbox 60.
$59.99. So that is good to see. There was speculation that we would see a $70 price tag on this. Interestingly enough, Xbox and PlayStation are both getting a slice of this for free as part of their Xbox Game Pass and PS Now, with Xbox Game Pass getting San Andreas and PS Now getting Grand Theft Auto 3 in December. So San Andreas at launch for Xbox, Grand Theft Auto 3 in December for PS Now. So I thought that was really fascinating, because we've had comments from, you know, the head of Take-Two being basically skeptical of Xbox Game Pass and its appeal. Yep. But then we've seen Grand Theft Auto in Game Pass. We've seen Red Dead Redemption 2 in Game Pass twice.
Both of them twice, yep.
Yeah, so they I think they're starting to see some sort of value. They wouldn't keep coming back to the service if they were still skeptical about it. So the fact that they're launching San Andreas Definitive Edition day one in Xbox Game Pass shows that there's a demand and an interest in the service. Are you buying this trilogy, Colt?
Already pre-ordered it.
Hey.
I don't pre-order very often, but I knew I was going to buy it, so I just bought it. And there's a couple reasons. Like, I know people may be like, why are you supporting this? When I made that video in August, Miles, I sat down. I do this very often when I make games. I don't just try and crank out a video. I plan ahead, and I sit down and load up the games or install them if they're not installed. So I installed San Andreas, which is like the mobile version, 360 back and pat. And I was playing it. And I played it for like 3 or 4 hours. Like, I played it for a couple different nights, and I was in party chat with like Fonz and Dealer, and I was like, I'm really enjoying this again, even though the controls are absolutely horrible. Like, I don't know how we used to play them that way, but I was really enjoying like the memories and like everything about that game in San Andreas is amazing. So I played through the game, and I'm like, I know I am going to enjoy it again, even if I don't go all the way through everything. I intend to, but we'll talk about later how the next several months are packed with games. Like, it's nonstop, right? So, but the other thing is kind of, I want to just own this game. I want to have this in my library, and it'll be like the set I own. I've never played 3. Vice City, I only played about over half of it. And San Andreas, I played almost full. I was like 98% completion. So I want to own them. So sue me.
Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting conversations lately about the value of games, and it's so subjective to so many people. I'm personally not going to buy this Grand Theft Auto trilogy. It looks great. I'm excited for the people who want to revisit it. I don't throw shade at anyone who is excited about this, because they are, in my eyes, doing a really good job of enhancing these games without doing full remakes, but still maintaining the classic feel and letting players kind of re-experience this game in a new way. I've bought remasters. I'm guilty of buying a lot of Capcom remasters. Yeah. I'm guilty of buying a lot of really lazy Capcom remasters where they do next to nothing. So it's hard for me to say, don't buy this, don't support this. If you are excited about the games, if you want to go back and replay them, buy them, have fun. And, just ignore the noise online. If you are excited about this, there's no reason not to be excited in my eyes.
So I got to say one more thing, Miles, and I said this on my show last week. I brought my controller out to kind of prove a point. It's kind of hard to show this on camera, but the shooting controls for San Andreas are really archaic. And like I said earlier, I don't know how we used to play this way, but 3 and Vice City don't allow you to rotate the camera, orbit the camera around your character at will, like you do in normal games where you have free control of the camera. You can move the camera right or left, and then it swings back to center. So you don't have that freedom like when you're in a firefight. You just feel like you're kind of constrained. But in San Andreas, you have a free camera. But I don't know how to do this. But here's how you shoot in San Andreas. There's 2 different modes, and both of them are horrible. And I was like, I don't know how you do this. I would get into like shootouts with the ballers, and I used to play that game like crazy. But I was playing it last month or 2 months ago. I was getting killed all the time. So normally in a shooter, I'll cut to the chase. They set the controls so you have the control scheme in Grand Theft Auto. So normally what you do in a game is you hold this trigger to aim your gun, to bring your gun up to your shoulder, and then you shoot like this, and then you can move the gun like this. Are you seeing this okay?
Yeah.
So in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, this is how you aim, and this is how you shoot. You can't pull the trigger like this. You can't go boom, 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 boom. You have to hold the button. You can't like tap fire. You can't like, manage your recoil or anything. You have to just hold the button. So every gun just shoots different speeds, and free aiming like doesn't really exist. So that was where I stopped. I'm like, I'm not buying these remasters if they don't improve the camera and the controls. And I know people say, well, Grand Theft Auto 5's controls are horrible. I'm like, well, it's not that. It's what we're used to. This button to aim, this button to shoot, this button to move the gun around. So that alone will make the game feel totally modern. And if you're excited, that's something you can be excited about.
Exactly. Tweaks like that go a long way in making these games replayable. Because I have like Resident Evil 2, one of my all-time favorite games. But going back and playing the original, man, like you said, it's hard to imagine that we played this and said, this feels good. This game feels great to play. I love playing this. You go back and you're like, wow, this is so hard to play because things have changed, things have evolved. The standards of what we expect from a game have evolved. So yeah, obviously Resident Evil 2 was a full remake, but I mean, like they did with the Resident Evil 1 kind of GameCube, when they re-released that on Xbox One, they changed the controls. So it was the same game, but the controls were changed a little bit. So it felt better to play. It wasn't
That's good.
as tank control-y. You had some more freedom, but they didn't fundamentally change the game. So I'm totally cool with that. Got to give a quick shout out to the 162 people joining us already. If you are digging the show, hit that like button, share it out. We are live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to transition into our next topic here, Colt, which is one that a lot of people are very excited about, and it's one that we see pop up kind of repeatedly. And that is a report from Tom Henderson at VGC that claims a new Splinter Cell is in development. And this is a mainline Splinter Cell. This is not a mobile spinoff. This is not a VR spinoff, reportedly. This is a mainline entry in the long dormant Splinter Cell series. The last entry was Blacklist in 2013, so it's been almost a decade since we've got a mainline Splinter Cell entry. So Colt, does this news excite you? Are you interested in the possibilities of a new Splinter Cell?
Yeah, I'm glad that Ubisoft has listened for 10 years. I mean, that we've been asking for a game for a long time. So yeah, it'll be like 12, 13 years if this game finally comes out. I mean, I don't know, like, are they must be in like development stage or concepting stage, or I don't know. Like, what do you think, Miles? Do you think they're in the middle of it, or do you think they've decided, hey, we're making a Splinter Cell game, we're not stopping till it's done?
It sounds like, according to this report, that it is in early development. So that means they've got the green light. They are in some stage of development. The timeline right now, like you said, probably a couple of years out, realistically, it sounds like.
Yeah, it could be 3 or 4 years. Yeah,
but
it could be.
It sounds like they have committed to this project, and they're moving forward with it, according to this report. So my question now is, what do you want from a new Splinter Cell? Like we talked about, our tastes have changed, our expectations have changed. What do we want from a new Splinter Cell game?
I want what I think they've been trying to do. Splinter Cell Blacklist, they couldn't use Michael Ironside because he's older and he can't get into mocap and climb over and do all that action stuff at his age. His voice is incredible as Sam Fisher. Conviction's my favorite Splinter Cell game by far. I've beat it like 2 or 3 times. So I heard a couple of years ago that Ubisoft was talking about a way to get Michael Ironside's voice and someone else to do mocap because they made that compromise for Blacklist where they brought in a different guy, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is cool," but that voice,
It's not
that
quite
voice
right.
is Sam. Yeah. So do you think they would do that, Miles? You think they would try and get Michael Ironside back to bring back Splinter Cell in the right way
If
and
they
still
are,
give us like,
I was gonna say, if they are trying to appeal to fans, like it seems like they are with this Splinter Cell, because that's the main crux of why they're bringing it back. That would be the ultimate way to do it. Is get
Mhm.
Michael Ironside, give us a teaser trailer reveal with his voice, have the lights turn on of the goggles, and then hear a line from Michael Ironside. If it was just
Yeah.
that, people would be so excited. That's all they have to
Oh
do
yeah.
to get people just goosebumps, feeling excited about this. Doom Squad, DC show, has Brendan Fraser as the voice of whatever the robot dude's name is. Sorry, I don't really watch the
Oh
show.
really?
But he's not the actual actor who's in the robot suit. So they can do it. We have the technology, and I hope and want to believe that Ubisoft will.
Yeah, they do have the technology, but like when I can't remember the guy's name that was Sam Fisher in Blacklist, but you've got his facial capture and body, so you do it all in one. So it's probably a lot easier.
Yeah.
But every time you watch a movie and the characters are outside having dialogue, that's all redone in the studio almost every single time. They've got boom mics and they've got planes flying overhead. But there's so many times in movies when they're outside where the actors and actresses go back in the studio, watch their performance and go try to like get that synced up so they have like proper sound. So yeah, it's one of those things I think is maybe they're thinking that's super important. Michael Ironside has to be the voice. And if we get a trailer or teaser in a year or two, you're right. With Michael Ironside, it'd be amazing. I saw somebody in the comment section say Conviction is the worst. I really liked the AAA, just the way stealth, and then if you mess up, most times you could fight your way out of it. I love that about Conviction. I also love the interrogation animations were like some of the best thing I've seen, and they still hold up. If you have Conviction on the Xbox One or Series X and back compat, it's native 4K 30. It looks incredibly modern. So yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah, that's one I only played briefly, but I remember just feeling this
Good.
absolute sense of joy when I was just throwing someone's head through a TV and as part of one of the interrogation sequences.
You
Um,
you know what, Miles? When you were explaining about Splinter Cell, it made me think that Xbox fans have something to look forward to in the next couple of years, because I think in a lot of ways, Perfect Dark is going to scratch that itch that we're not getting from Splinter Cell. Have you thought about that?
yeah, it's been really interesting in this void, in this world where we don't have Metal Gear Solid, where we don't have
Yeah.
Splinter Cell, these marquee stealth games. We've seen titles like Hitman. Hitman 3, I think, is right now the best example of a modern stealth game. And with Splinter Cell coming back, I hope they look at what IO did with Hitman 3, because they made stealth fun. It caters
Yeah.
to the hardcore who want an extreme stealth experience that's punishing if you were not stealthy and precise. But they also, pandered to people like me who just want to run in and kill people with bananas, beat them in the face with wine bottles, and do stupid stuff. So it's got this excellent blend of classic stealth with modern sensibilities and more flexibility. So I hope they take lessons that have been learned over the course of the last 8 years and incorporate that into what Splinter Cell is.
And dial it back like Ubisoft. Don't try and make it like this game that you're supposed to have 100 hours worth of content like they do. Like right now, I can't even finish. I love Far Cry 6, but I can't even finish it right now because there's so much content mostly that I want to do. But you know what? Splinter Cell did something. I don't know if it was the first game, but it was the first game I remember on the original Xbox that actually the analog controls were this gameplay is grotesque. It was one of the first games where when you walked forward with left stick, you couldn't just push it forward. You had to ease it in to keep his footsteps quiet. And that was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. I didn't know like the controller could do that. I didn't know it had a variable speed. So it's been a groundbreaking game. So it deserves a full comeback.
Yes, no more of these weird mobile tie-ins, no more weird VR spin-offs. I'm excited about the possibilities of a mainline Splinter Cell game in the year 2022 and beyond? Because it sounds like, according to this report, again, it's in early development, but they might potentially reveal it next year. And I think if they did, if this report is true, then it would be, like we said, probably some kind of teaser, just getting people excited about what this could be. Shout out to Rand. I know he's been suffering through the Splinter Cell drought for years and years, and as much joy as it brings me watching Rand squirm and suffer, I do want the rest, all the other Splinter Cell fans in the world, except for Rand, to be happy. That's what I
love giving Rand a hard time. He's one of my best friends.
He's a good sport, and that's why we do it. He gets it.
He's like, Colt! Yeah.
I'm going to get to a super chat here from Harjeet Chani, who says, will the new Splinter Cell be a normal game or a game as a service type thing? I would rather have a normal Splinter Cell game. That is an interesting question. We know Ubisoft loves the ongoing games as a service title. They do it with almost all of their releases now. They like it. They have adapted most of their mainline series into that formula. So I would imagine
sometimes it's paid DLC, which is okay. You
don't
have to buy it, but if you do, you get more of what you love.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I imagine it will have some sort of ongoing game mechanics. Maybe it'll be like what we saw with Hitman 3, where they have those little those special events that happen in game as a way to keep players coming back. And maybe they'll lean into cosmetics and costumes and stuff. But Ubisoft, as we've seen, is experimenting with free to play more. They're experimenting with games as a service more. So I have a hard time believing that this will be only a single player campaign and that is it. But who knows? Maybe they are starting on a smaller scale just to test the waters, see what people want from Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell Conviction had an online co-op mode, which was really cool because it was 10 or 12 missions that were not in the game, that they built different mansions or different places you had to infiltrate with your co-op partner online. Just you and one other player, and you went in to the extraction and you had to work together. And if you got spotted, it was over and you restart the level. And those are really cool. I don't know if a lot of people even know that stuff, but Splinter Cell was on its great way and then they just stopped. Did Blacklist not sell very well? I kind of had to push through the last part of it.
I don't have the data, but I don't think it made a huge splash, and that's one of the reasons that the series hasn't had a sequel or a new entry for a long time, is because they're not sure what to do with it, and I don't think the last few entries really set the world on fire from a sales perspective. And Ubisoft wants that money, and again, that's why they're adapting the games as a service. You know me. I love co-op. I'll play anything with co-op. I know not everyone would want co-op in Splinter Cell, but if Splinter Cell had co-op, I'd be more inclined to play it. So maybe they'll dabble with that more, like you talked about, that kind of mode they experimented with co-op missions as a way outside of the main story to give the hardcore fans who want the single player experience that story, but then to expand outside of that and, let me dab and give me my emotes and my sprays and all that.
Sprays. Some people are like, well, what can Splinter Cell be open world? And I think no, because you've already got Wildlands and Breakpoint. Like the modern Ghost Recon games already have been doing like a watered down Splinter Cell. Obviously you don't have Sam Fisher, but you go in and you start stealthy and you try to tag and pick everybody off. That really in its core, that is a lot of what Splinter Cell does. And we've done that for a while. I think we need a linear single player Sam Fisher story. And then that story is what really what pushed you through. Like Conviction, he's out trying to find out what's going on. He's got problems with his daughter. There's a flashback to when he was in Afghanistan, when he was in the military or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but those story things are so important, and you don't get that in like an open world game like Wildlands, where it's like here's the cartels everywhere, go get them. They're on every part of the map, cleaning them out. Yeah,
I like the way Hitman 3 set their missions up, where you have this kind of exposition that sets up why you're going to this specific location and then gives you a pretty big sandbox but it's not necessarily an open world, but you're in all these kind of gorgeous, diverse locations without it being an open world. It's setting up, this is the mission, this is why you're here, and then here's this kind of sandbox to go play in. And I would love if Splinter Cell kind of adapted that formula, because again, I agree, I don't think Splinter Cell necessarily works in an open world setting, because then you're not going to have a lot of diverse locations by that regards. They're not going to give you the entire world to explore. It's probably going to be one city, and it would be the entire game takes place in a city, as opposed to Hitman, which kind of sprinkles you throughout the world, which I like to mix up kind of the feel and the aesthetic of all these levels.
Yeah.
Super chat from Gaz, who says, delay Rand. Poor Rand. Poor Rand getting dunked on in here. All right, next topic here, Colt. This is a big one. This has been a big talking point this week in the industry, and that is some new details about the growth targets for Xbox Game Pass and where they landed in the fiscal year from June 2020 to June 2021. We know
Xbox Game Pass is dead. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So Xbox Game Pass missed its targets. All right. Xbox Game Pass had a goal of increasing by 47% from June to June. They hit about 38%. So not a monumental miss by this, but there's been a lot of conversations from this about why. Why didn't Xbox necessarily hit these targets? One key thing to note before we get into this conversation, these targets seem to have been set before the delay of Halo Infinite. So they were likely expecting Halo Infinite to kind of push the needle a little bit further. The last official number that we got from Xbox was in January, and they said they passed 18 million subscribers in Xbox Game Pass. Since then, folks like Jez have said, 22-ish, 23-ish million maybe, but Phil Spencer has not been willing to give a public number since. Even in an interview like last week, maybe even this week, he said he was asked, okay, so where is Game Pass at now? And he's like, we're going to stick with our last official number of 18 million. So they've had opportunities to say they've hit other milestones, but they're not. So what I want to talk to you about, and what I want to talk to the audience about, is what does Xbox Game Pass need to do to be a service that everyone subscribes to? Because that's what they want. They want Xbox Game Pass to be the Netflix of gaming, where everyone, regardless of casual, hardcore, they subscribe to Game Pass and they stay subscribed to Game Pass. So in your eyes, what does Xbox need to do to hit that goal?
Well, Miles, this actually ties in really well with GamesIndustry.biz's article that says that Xbox needs AAA bangers, basically, to grow the subscription service. I thought about making this into a video, but I kind of already have, like, several times. Xbox already has a bunch of big games coming. They've already announced them. We already know they're in Game Pass. We already know they're on their way. We've seen a lot of them. But I think what GamesIndustry.biz should have really focused on in their headline, and this ties in to answer your question, is that you asked me what Xbox needs to do to make Game Pass bigger. I think they need to be more aggressive with getting bigger third-party games. They already know that Sarah Bond and Matt Booty are like cultivating a bunch of deals with global publishing, with the in-house studios. There's all these games that they've shown, 20 plus games that are coming to Game Pass in the next 2 or 3 years that are big, just in-house and first party. So they need to be more aggressive with the money to go get a hold of day and date releases that are bigger than Outriders and Back for Blood. Those are, and MLB The Show, those are like the big three that we've had. And Back for Blood and Outriders they weren't like very memorable staying power games. And I think they need to find something bigger. They need to be reaching out and looking at, they should have grabbed Far Cry 6. Like I said in a video, I thought they were going to. That's a game they should have been really aggressive to get. Like, we know Far Cry 6 is going to be a good game. It's a big game. A lot of people want it. They need to get stuff like that. They have the money. And I think some of these publishers are coming around. That's the problem, Miles. Are publishers ready? Like Zelnick, the CEO from Rockstar, said, in so many words, he says, I don't think you can put big our AAA games on Game Pass. Well, he put GTA Trilogy. It's not really a big AAA new release. Like, you got to think about how much does Microsoft need to give me so I can make the money back I would have sold on the Xbox console if I go to Game Pass. So I think they need to be really aggressive, and I think they have the money to do it. And maybe they haven't been doing that.
Yeah, let's look at what has released in this period to give people an idea of what the Game Pass day and date exclusives have been so far. We had Battletoads, we had Gears Tactics, we had some Sea of Thieves DLC, Outriders, Gears Hive Busters, Tell Me Why, like you said, MLB The Show. So there have been noteworthy games launching day and date in the service. And for people
Flight Sim.
Yeah.
Yeah, Psychonauts. Wasn't Psychonauts in there?
Well, no, I'm just saying from June to June in that period, in the period of this reporting.
June.
Yeah, from June to June.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Those are the games that have released. So that gives us a better idea of talking points for. To
be fair, that was like Xbox's worst release at a launch in a long time.
Yes. So
yeah, that's again horrible.
Yeah. So they were probably expecting, again, Halo Infinite was likely in the conversations there. So again, I know a lot of people were really upset and defensive about that article, saying that, this is just, inflammatory, clickbait, blah, blah, blah. But I've talked about this recently as well, that is the reality, is that Xbox's greatest strengths and the greatest point of success for Game Pass is if they convert people who are critical of the service. If they convert people who primarily play on PlayStation, primarily play on Nintendo, if you convert those people and get them to see the value of Xbox Game Pass, that is going to, by word of mouth and by kind of notoriety, make the service explode. Because once you get those games that everyone is talking about, and again, I know a lot of Xbox fans don't necessarily care about Nintendo, but Animal Crossing, when Animal Crossing released, everyone was talking about Animal Crossing. When Among Us released, when Fall Guys released, everyone was talking about those games. No matter what you played normally, you were talking about those games, you were playing those games. And if I'm being quite frank and I'm being, brutally critical of Xbox Game Pass as a service, we haven't really had many of those yet. I love Gears.
Like a viral hit.
I love Gears of War more than the average person, but that is, sadly for me to say, if I'm being honest with myself, it's more of a niche title. Gears does not have widespread appeal in that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny when you say games like Fall Guys and Animal Crossing, because when we look at them and we hear all the voices in like the community that we're in, where they say bangers and they use words like AAA and cinematic and blockbuster, they always forget that the big ones that everyone's talking about, like the Squid Game of video games.
Yes, that's what Xbox needs.
Like Among Us or Fall Guys or Animal Crossing or Roblox. And I know it's so weird because I know that without saying it up front, that Matt Booty and Phil Spencer are always, I'll bet you anything, they're always talking about which one of these developers or these third-party publishers that we can get a hold of has the next viral smash hit where everyone's like, have you played this game Fall Guys, where all these people go online and try to race to the end without falling off the platforms? Like, they're looking for that next big thing. That, I mean, if you got a game like Fall Guys into Game Pass, you probably paid very little compared to what you'd pay for MLB or Outriders, like, for sure. And then the return on investment's amazing. And all these people would be swarming to Game Pass because some new little quirky title has taken the world by storm. And not everything is this one cookie, although those are the games I like the most, is that cookie cutter cinematic. I feel like I'm playing in a movie. Those are some of my favorite games, and I won't play Fall Guys all that much, but that draw is what Xbox needs, and they haven't had a viral smash hit. Yeah, unfortunately, that's really what it's about.
That's the reality. Let's look at Netflix and why that explodes consistently. Shows like Tiger King, Orange is the New Black, these shows that everyone watches, everyone talks about, and that is how Xbox Game Pass can succeed. Xbox has done a lot right, and they are investing in studios, they are investing in projects. Xbox Global Publishing is going to be a huge pillar of their business moving forward. We are going to see a lot of games announced that aren't, necessarily Xbox buying the studio, but publishing through Xbox Game Studios Publishing, and that's going to be a huge way for them to leverage things. But the reality is the reason that Xbox Game Pass, it's successful. Don't get me wrong. There's, Xbox Game Pass is not failing. It's not a failure.
It's killing it. Killing it.
We are just talking about, the potential for the service and what Xbox needs to do. So
I have to clarify something, because I can see people like going, whoa, hold on. Like, this isn't what we're asking for. You have to remember, like Beast Mode's saying, Fall Guys is niche, but you need big tentpole franchises to bring up the numbers. Like, remember, like, Xbox already has big games in the works, and they're the ones we're waiting to see gameplay. Like, they are definitely, if you look at the whole suite of studios, well over half of those studios are working on AAA big like blockbuster titles. But Xbox is really looking around, like Miles said, for publishers. They want to grab something that looks like it's going to be a viral hit for very little money, because if you want to bring in the numbers to Game Pass, you already have the blockbuster games. Those are already in the pipeline to come in. Those aren't going away. Those are part of gaming. But the other part is like those big viral games where everybody has to join the service because they want to play with their friends, because this like game is so popular that kids in middle schools are talking about it. And you don't get kids in middle schools talking about Gears or Perfect Dark.
Yeah,
but
and
those games are important.
Yeah, exactly. And Xbox has shown us with their roadmap that they are catering to hardcore Xbox fans and hardcore gamers who want experiences like Hellblade 2, who want State of Decay 3, who want their isometric RPGs, who want their humongous open world RPGs in Starfield. So Xbox they're not going away from that. They are committing to that. They are going to do that. But again, if we're just talking about the overall appeal of Xbox Game Pass and the broad long-term strategy is they want something for everyone. So I see people in the chat talking about what they want. Xbox Game Pass is going to cater to you, but that they don't want to only cater to you. I'll just be totally frank. Xbox Game Pass doesn't care about catering only to you. Xbox Game Pass
games in there.
Xbox Game Pass wants to cater to anyone who has any interest in gaming at all. And if they can succeed and they deliver a diverse slate that gives me what I want, gives Colt what he wants, gives Space Dovahkiin what they want, then Xbox Game Pass is going to have that growth that they're looking for. But we know their investment phase, we know they're in development phase, so it realistically is going to take, a little more time for that kind of cadence to drop. And so, like you talked about earlier, a way to fill that gap in the interim is leverage third-party partnerships aggressively and try to get those big, legitimately big third-party games day and date on Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, and I'll say again, they really need to be looking out up ahead at the games coming out in the next year or so and trying to strike those deals. Like, if there's a big popular blockbuster game, like the big games that we like a tentpole franchise from some other developer, even if it's a Ubisoft game, like, they should be out there saying how much to get that into Xbox. Like, because they have to look at trying to think of a game that's coming up. What's coming in February?
Maybe. Elden Ring.
Okay, Elden Ring's way too big, but what's other games coming in February?
There's a lot. Saints Row. Saints Row would be a bigger.
Yeah, I was thinking Saints Row. Let's
probably
just say
more
Saints
affordable.
Row, but we'll laugh about Saints Row because most people don't like that. But if you take a game like that's pretty big and you're thinking, you'll probably sell 2 million on Xbox, 2 million units of Saints Row. I'm just throwing a number out there. Like, they have to say, there's that grotesque video clip. Like, they'd say to him, like, look, you project to sell like 2 million copies of Saints Row on Xbox alone. If we give you this amount of money, it'll cover the cost of that and whatever deals they work out. I don't know how that stuff works because it's different for every publisher, but I think they need to be doing that because there's big games coming out in the next year. They need to be striking those deals. Like, let's look at getting 1, maybe 2 big multi-plats into Game Pass day and date. What is that going to cost us? That's how you do it.
We know these conversations are happening. There is no way people at Xbox are not picking up the phone and making these calls saying, what are you looking at? What are your expectations for this? Does Game Pass fit into this equation? Because here's what we can offer you. Here's the success we've seen with these other titles like Outriders and Back 4 Blood. Because, as much as some Outriders especially, it was okay. It was a good game, not a great game. Didn't set the world on fire. Had a host of issues. It still sold incredibly well. Still had a ton of people playing it. And I guarantee
Game Pass.
Xbox Game Pass made that game more successful than it would have been.
Miles, that phone that they pick up to make these calls, is it like a green old corded phone with a touch-tone dial on it?
It looks like the prototype for the original Xbox, the big silver X, and then you just pick up the middle and you hold the circle to your
You pick
ear.
this huge thing up and it's
So, yeah, we know they are doing what they need to do. And 37% or 38-ish% is still a respectable amount of growth in that time. And I think a lot of people, because of that huge jump, that almost 100% growth previously, I think a lot of people kind of jumped to conclusions and said, they're going to do that again. They're just going to keep doubling it exponentially. And again, despite the fact that they didn't have any, and I hate this word so much, humongous bangers launching day and date as Xbox exclusives and Xbox Game Pass, we still saw excellent growth from the service. And that is huge, because that shows that when these titles start dropping, when our Forza Horizon 5s, when our Halo Infinites, when our Starfields, once those become consistent, the value of Xbox Game Pass and the appeal of Xbox Game Pass, no matter who you are, is just going to grow, and that's going to make the service explode. But that's not going to happen until next year at the earliest. Maybe November and December we see a huge jump because of Forza and Halo. I'm really curious to see how much Halo pushes the needle with multiplayer being free to play.
Right.
So just for fun here, what are you estimating that we'll see Xbox wrap the year with? If you had to put a number on
Game Pass subs?
Yeah.
Let me say first, I run a small YouTube channel, so I'm putting out content once or twice a week, at least twice a week. And when you do YouTube, you're a slave to the number system and the analytics. It's absolutely horrible, because YouTube will tell you when you absolutely suck. So
less people are watching this video, dude. You suck. Why'd you put this out?
Yeah, it's if you create content on YouTube, or if you're trying to build a brand on Instagram, whatever, that the numbers can be absolutely brutal. And I can just tell you that I'm really happy for the success that I've had and the growth that I've had over the past few years doing this. The reason why I'm saying that is, if YouTube told me that that my growth was 38% year on year, I would be doing backflips. That 38% is incredible growth. I think, just to give you some perspective, I put out a video 2 days ago about these third-person games like Compulsion and State of Decay, and how Matt Booty said they're important, that they're trying to make these different type of games. YouTube told me, your video is doing great. Numbers are up. Keep doing what you're doing because people like this video. And the other metric, Miles, said your video is up 8% of your other views. And I was like, yes,
killing it.
That's awesome. And YouTube was like, good job, Colt. Good job, buddy.
Pat on the back. You're doing good. You're doing good, champ. So
you're doing phenomenal, bro. On the YouTube.coms. And so when I saw the games media critiquing Xbox for not being up 48%, but actually only being up 37%, I thought, you of all people, games media, should understand you have metrics on your websites, on your videos, on all of your reports. They're telling you when you're getting better impressions to an audience, and you're dogging Xbox for being up 37 instead of 48. I got to call foul on that one. I think that's why people are upset, because most people who run a small business, I've heard people say this on social media, I run a small business. If my business was up 37%, I would be very, very happy and very pleased. And I think there's going around your question, but I don't mean to, Miles. But I think if Xbox really did have a target to hit 30 million by December 2021, it sounds like they're closer to 25 million. And I know that when you don't hit a target, it burns, but it should only burn you as a goal setter. It definitely does not mean that Game Pass is slowing down or dying, because they could definitely have, with the way the first half of 2021 with the games lineup was not very good at all. And I wasn't happy. I
yeah.
was playing multiplats. I played a bunch of Valhalla and Cyberpunk to get through that first part of 2021. So I was pretty busy. But I wouldn't be surprised if they were like stagnant for the year, but they grew. So I don't know. It's just weird.
So yeah, you're saying 25?
25 million is where I think they're probably going to be sitting by December when Halo comes out, because the only draw is the campaign. The multiplayer is completely free. And I think at that point, a lot of people would join Game Pass because they want to play the full suite of Halo, not just the multiplayer modes. So 25.
Yeah, it's really interesting to have this conversation about their growth, because 37% when you're a company the size of Microsoft, that is pretty massive. That is significant growth.
Good money.
And they obviously have lofty targets for Xbox Game Pass because they understand the potential, and that's why they are doubling down on Xbox Game Pass, because they see what it can be, they see the potential, and especially in other markets that are more mobile heavy. Once the cloud infrastructure's fully optimized, and we've seen huge improvements there, anyone with a phone is going to be able to access Xbox Game Pass and play games they like without any other peripherals. They're just going to have their phone and be able to play games on their phone, and they're going to start leveraging more cloud-centric games to cater to those players. And that's going to be huge. That's going to make the appeal even better. You tell your friend, hey, you want to play Halo? Open your phone, open this app, sign up for Game Pass. We're playing Halo. That's it. For some people, that's going to be a huge draw. So again, it's tough for me right now. After this new report, after we know where they sit in June, it's hard for me to have a hard figure. I would say the dream of maybe surpassing 30 million isn't as likely as it was maybe a month ago when you're having these conversations. So yeah, I could see 25 million being a safer metric. And again,
where you're sitting as well.
Yeah, I would say
25?
between 23 and 26 is where I'll be. I'll sit in that zone, because I am legitimately curious to see how Forza and Halo move the needle, because they've been marketing Forza heavily as hey, you got a new Xbox, you got a shiny new Series X and S, this is the game you need to play because it looks ridiculous. This game looks amazing. So I think that's going to be kind of the holiday gift driver. People getting new consoles for the holidays. I think that's going to be the play to get people to sign up for Game Passes. A parent goes to the store to buy their child a new console, and then they find out that they can get all these games for this one price. And they're like, oh, cool. Like that sounds like Netflix. I can wrap my mind around this. They want to play Halo. They want to play Forza. They want to play X, Y, and Z. All these big marquee Xbox holiday releases. Oh, that's included with this subscription? Cool. That saves me money. Let's do it. So yeah, I'll say 23 to 26 is where I'm at.
Oh, specific numbers. I like it.
So I'm going to get to a couple super chats here before we transition into our next topic. First up, JD Gamer says, if you want to convert PS fans to Xbox and Game Pass, you have to secure the games they play exclusively. So go acquire Sega for Persona, NetherRealm for Mortal Kombat, and the crossover with Killer Instinct. So what JD Gamer is saying is that Xbox needs to take big exclusives from PlayStation fans, essentially, to draw people in. Do you think that is a good approach? Do you think that's the right approach? We've seen Final Fantasy 16 is a PlayStation exclusive. That's a big deal for some people.
Yeah. I mean, the Final Fantasy newer games are almost exclusive forever, it seems like, with like no possibility of coming to Xbox. So, I don't know. Going back to Xbox picking up more publishers, because I think they have more studios and they have too many studios to manage right now. So they have 23 that is plenty to work with that are making tons of games. Like that alone is enough content to push through the console generation, because right now they have maybe more games, first party games, than PlayStation will.
Yeah,
I think you can say that. I think it's safe to say. So as far as them grabbing Sega or Capcom, we haven't, you and I haven't talked about this, Miles, but like we would salivate if Xbox decided to pick up Capcom and bring them in as their own, we're going to work with you as a second party studio, and you're going to be making this game for us and no one else until you're done with it. That's a mistake they made with Platinum. But is to let them make other games. But anyway, yeah, get Capcom and just keep getting more unique games, because it's okay to grab a third-party publisher and say, hey, this game you just started on, can we buy that? Can you bring that to Xbox and Game Pass, and we'll pay you and help you complete development. We'll give you support with technology and software and everything. Yeah, so that's super important, and that's going to help grow Game Pass as well.
I think once we see games like Contraband and Project Dragon release, if those games are huge, that is going to have that's going to put so many eyes on Xbox Game Studios for third-party developers saying, wow, Avalanche killed it. Contraband is the best thing that they've ever put out, and Xbox helped make that happen. I want to work with Xbox. And I think Xbox understands that if they can do that and succeed there, they don't have to buy every developer. They don't have to buy every publisher, which I know a lot of people in the Xbox camp, that's what they want, is Xbox to buy anyone and everyone. I get it. It's exciting to talk about those possibilities. Like you said with Capcom, I think if Xbox bought Capcom, in my eyes, that is the best case scenario for a big publisher that they could ever have, because of Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, Devil May Cry, all these huge IP that you get in Game Pass day and date every single time. That would be huge. But if Xbox just partnered with Capcom and got Capcom excited to work with Xbox on exclusive titles without them buying it, that would also be really cool. So I get where that comes from. I get the want. As a hardcore Xbox fan, you want Xbox to have all these exclusives, to take them away from the loud PlayStation fans screaming on Twitter. But as you know, Phil Spencer has recently said, there's no timeline. They're not rushing to buy anyone and everyone for the sake of doing it. It has to be the right team.
There's no deadline.
It has to be the right fit. So the expectations for acquisitions should probably be dialed back on the Xbox side a little bit. Phil said they're still going to, they have their ears to the ground. They are going to buy more studios when it makes sense.
They have to, because the ones that Xbox fans are looking for, like if, we really want them to buy WB, but that's something that you don't just get to turn around and make the purchase and then share it out like Blue Point did with PlayStation. Like, they've been working with them. There aren't any like big financial and contractual hurdles with something like that. Like, they can just make that happen. And that's why those announcements happen so quickly. So if you're looking for something really big, and I think Xbox is looking for somebody really big, and then a bunch of other publishers, that those things are not going to have, like Phil said, there's no like timeline or deadline on this. Like, Satya didn't say, you can buy studios, but if you don't buy something by the time of acquisition season, we're over. Like, that whole thing got blown out of proportion. And let's just pretend that right now Phil is trying to get WB. Like, that's not something we're going to see or hear about ever until like another year. Like, that stuff just doesn't that stuff takes a long time. And the Bethesda thing, like, somebody heard some whispers. Remember, Miles?
Like, years ago.
A little bit of whispers, like over a year before the intent was in October of last year. And then it didn't clear until April or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So these things are complicated, especially for publishers. Studios, independent developers, if they're public, that's an easier get. But if you're talking about big publishers, like let's say a Sega or a Square, deals like that take years and years of a lot of logistics. So again, maybe there's some truth to some of these rumblings. There probably have been conversations, as we learned from a hilarious documentary a little while ago. Xbox tried to buy Nintendo at one point. So, there are conversations like that happen and maybe go nowhere at all. But it is fascinating to talk about the possibilities. I'm going to give a quick shout out to the 280 people joining us right now. If you are digging the show, hit that like button, share it out. We are live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Another super chat here from Isma Easy, who says, East Asia will make Xbox Game Pass explode. Most of the world's population is over there, and Game Pass is growing a lot, but nobody is talking about it. At East Asia, there's a lot of mobile-centric players over there.
Yes.
Even if we're talking about Japan has kind of shifted away from the console more, and that's why the Switch is blowing up, because of that portability, because of it being mobile. So Xbox understands that there is a huge market And that's why they're leveraging Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with xCloud bundled in to leverage those people who just have their phone or just have their laptop, and that's what they want to play on. They have no interest in buying a console. Breaks my heart as a filthy console heathen, but the reality is most people who play games right now in this day and age don't play on a console. So
right.
Xbox understands that.
I mean, there's as many Steam accounts as there are, PlayStation and Xboxes. I think it's like close to the same number. So they're on PC, but obviously, like, there's so many people on mobile. But they're not playing the games that we play. But there are some that they will play on a phone. So
yeah, and we'll be talking some more about some ways and some games specifically that we got some new info on that Xbox is going to leverage that. But another super chat here from Drawn TJ, who says they should get the new open world zombie survival game that looks like The Walking Dead. It's called The Day Before, and put that in Game Pass. Yeah, Day Before looks really cool. But I will say that, if State of Decay 3 is ambitious as ambitious as they say it is, State of Decay 3 might fill that zombie open world kind of MMO vibe. So we'll see what the scope of State of Decay 3 ends up being. But it sounds like they want State of Decay 3 to be the vision that they originally had for it, which is that Walking Dead. You have the camps all over the world. You're sharing resources. You're doing supply runs. So it sounds like they want State of Decay 3, now that this is a fully funded game from Xbox, to deliver that. They're using photogrammetry to scan environments. It's supposed to be pretty big.
State of Decay 2 actually looks a lot better than most people give it credit for, especially with the lighting update from 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. Another thing, Miles, is people don't, they forget that Xbox does not have a problem repeating genres. Like, they're okay having a dark fantasy and a fantasy or a dark fantasy game, like we've talked about with whatever Compulsion is doing, and then you've got Avowed. Like, they're okay having several RPGs. So you don't have to worry about if they're, they already have that game, so they're not going to do another genre in the same genre. Like, Xbox has so many games in the works, and there's so many different studios, they don't have to worry about that. And they're not dictating who makes what. So if Obsidian says we want to make a fantasy game, and they know Bethesda's already working on Elder Scrolls, they're like, we just make games, fill that deficit.
Exactly. We're gonna have Xbox is going to have The Outer Worlds, and they're gonna have Fallout. Xbox is going to have Avowed, and they're gonna have Elder Scrolls. So yeah, they just want a consistent flow of games. It's not like, oh, we've already had one open world fantasy RPG, can't do another one. Sorry guys, you got to make.
And we're not all the same. Like, some people really love Halo and they don't like the Wolfenstein games, or some people like both, or some people only like Wolfenstein and they're done with Halo. Like, we always forget. It's like Albert Pinello is amazing. He used to work at Xbox, now he works at Amazon. And he replied to me on Twitter one day. He said, remember, Colt, you're a customer, not the customer. And he was kind of calling me out because we talk about like what we think are the most important things. But as someone like him who built hardware for Xbox, he's moved into the cloud gaming space with Amazon, and they're pushing boundaries of how gaming is evolving. You have to remember that because we talked about it earlier, Miles, like, not everything is the same for everybody. It's super important that, like, you can't dictate like you have to have this type of game or you're not doing the right thing.
Exactly. Xbox Game Pass understands that. Like we touched on earlier, Xbox Game Pass is not only for you. As much as you want it to be only for you and all the games that you want, they will never make it that. It will never be that. And if it is that, if it's only games for Miles Dompier and that is the service, then it's not going to succeed. I'll just be honest. I mean, I feel like I have pretty good taste, I gotta say, but if Xbox Game Pass was only for me, it would not be a successful business. And people who make way more than me, who have a better business sense than me, get that. And that's why they are trying to make the appeal of Xbox Game Pass as big and as wide as it can possibly be, while still, throwing me a bone and developing Phantom Dust. Right, Colt?
Oh my gosh. I was going to say, sometimes you have excellent taste. Miles, you're a huge fan of Pokemon. Like, what if Xbox grabbed a game that hit like Pokemon? Like, worldwide appeal. Like, what if they picked up some little game that all of a sudden became like the next Pokemon? It's so funny when we talk about those bangers. Like, it could be the littlest thing. Like Among Us was, when I see Among Us, my kids play it on their devices. I'm like, what is that? And then they explain how huge it is with everybody. I'm like, man, why isn't it on Xbox?
Yeah, because again, there was a lot of controversy with Pokemon Sword and Shield and the graphics and looking at the trees and how the trees looked like Nintendo 64 graphics and blah, blah, blah. It was one of the best-selling games of all time. It instantly shot to one of the top 50 selling games of all time. So I want, as much as a lot of hardcore fans would be grossed out if Xbox had a Pokemon equivalent, Xbox would be stoked. Xbox would be so stoked if they had a brand that powerful. I mean, they have Minecraft with it, which has so much brand power. They want more of that.
Yeah.
If they had something on the level of Pokemon. Oh yeah, go for it.
Can I say something super spicy?
Uh-oh. Okay. Let's see. What do you got?
Do you feel like Jim Ryan and Herman Hulst at PlayStation aren't even looking in the direction of these smaller indie, like, breakout viral hits? It seems like
I would say they are. And we'll talk about that, actually, I think, with our next topic. Might as well transition into that here. Among Us coming to Xbox Game Pass. Among Us finally is coming to Xbox in December. Xbox has historically been, with some of these viral games, the all but platform. This game is coming to everything but Xbox. Fall Guys, this humongous viral hit, the game everyone was playing that summer. Guess where it launched? Guess what service it launched into, Colt? And guess what all the sad Xbox fans were doing that summer? Just watching people stream Fall Guys. Fall Guys launched exclusively. It was PlayStation Plus.
The monthly gold or whatever, right? I know people get it mixed up when they say it, but Plus is the monthly online paywall, right? Yeah, it launched in that, or it went into it pretty early?
Launched in that. Yeah, it launched.
Oh, that's a great get.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that PlayStation is not looking at that, because that is a prime example of PlayStation saying, we see what this game is going to be. We see the interest, we see the excitement, and as we saw, that game exploded. And whether it's, as big as it was, that's, it's not. But that being said, for a period of time, it was the game that everyone was playing, everyone was talking about, and a bunch of people on PlayStation were playing it, having a fun, being part of the conversation. And then we had the Xbox fans lurking in the shadows, being like, oh, one day I'll get Fall Guys.
Instead, we had Humans Fall Flat with 4 players or 3-player co-op.
Also,
it was
great game.
The biggest. Yeah, this funny little. I mean, I never laughed so hard playing that game, but yeah, the massive appeal of a game where everyone talks about it. And I know it sounds weird when I say like a game that they talk about at middle school. I have a kid who's like middle school age, but they don't talk about Xbox bangers and PlayStation bangers in junior high and middle school. They're talking about Fall Guys and Pokemon and Minecraft and Roblox and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, there's exactly. Exactly, cool. And what I want to talk about with Among Us and Fall Guys is when these come to Xbox, because it sounds like Fall Guys could potentially be coming to Xbox in November with some Halo cosmetics. This is according to a leak, unverified. I don't know that this is real, but according to a leak, Fall Guys could be coming in November and Among Us could be coming in December. But there's been a lot of conversation surrounding the appeal. Are these games still relevant? Will people care by the time these games come to Xbox? And what are your thoughts on that? If both of these launch in Xbox Game Pass, is that going to bring a resurgence of players to these games?
Fall Guys and Among Us?
Because Among Us we know is launching in Game Pass.
Yeah. Unfortunately, those games are almost a year old, aren't they?
Among Us is several years old, but Fall Guys is over a year old.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will. I think just because it's landing on there finally, I think it'll bring people up, but it's not going to be like a massive surge because those games aren't viral like they used to be. That viral thing's pretty important, even though I don't like using that word, and I used it 18 times today. But I think it'll help. But like I said earlier, they need to grab these games while they're super hot, while they're big. I don't know where the miss was. Like Xbox should have been reaching out to Fall Guys and saying, "Hey, what's going on with the Xbox port?" And like, "Oh, we need time and money." And Xbox just said, "Here, like we need this game now. It's hot. Like, why is this not on there?"
And I
don't know
think I think
what
Xbox
happened.
is understanding the weight of Devolver as an independent publisher. They have kind of been the rising star in the indie scene of consistently putting out
It's
great
Devolver
games.
Digital that did.
Death's Door.
Yeah, they did Fall Guys.
They did Fall Guys. So Xbox, I think, after that miss is like, we gotta partner.
Well,
with
they already
Devolver.
had what's that game called? I didn't even play it because I heard it's really tough. It was like that roguelite Western like Dead Shooter or something. Dead Revolver or something like that. Wasn't that a Devolver Digital game? Or am I just mixing
There was
up names?
West of Dead, but I don't think that was
West of
Devolver.
Dead.
I don't. That one was not
I'm just getting
Devolver.
names mixed up. So
But
I thought
they had
maybe they were
Carry
already
On,
working
which launched into Xbox Game Pass. We had Death's Door, which is an Xbox exclusive, in the Game of the Year conversations right now. Stuff like that.
Game Pass.
Stuff like that is still important, though. Death's
Yeah,
Door, a Game of the Year contender, launching as an Xbox exclusive, that is still really important for Xbox. And Xbox needs to do a better job of making sure those games that are in those conversations that people love. Hades finally came to Xbox, and it did incredibly well, even though it had been out, won a ton of awards. Everyone had been loving it on other platforms for a long time. It finally came to Xbox, and when it did, people were like, damn, this is what I've been missing out on as an Xbox player. Like, I had to wait this long to play this incredible game. And Xbox, again, is doing better. I'm sure they will continue to do better, but again, as someone who prefers playing on Xbox, I hope that the days of missing those big games that everyone talks about, I hope we're on the other side of that.
Yeah.
A couple more super chats here. Edward King says, "Dying." Okay, so this is in reference to a Game Pass game in February that could make sense. Dying Light 2 day one on Game Pass makes the most sense for February releases. Is that going to move the needle, Colt? Is Dying Light 2 going to get people to sign up for Xbox Game Pass?
It absolutely would. I just don't think they're going to grab that. That's a better example of a game they should be pushing out there. They've got marketing rights for Dying Light 2, Xbox does. So I would assume they've thought about it, or they've had that discussion and they couldn't get the team to Techland to go for it. So yeah, that's going to come out as a multi-plat. I had heard rumors a year and a half ago that Xbox was helping them in development, and that ended up not being true whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I would love for them to grab that in Game Pass. But when did we hear about Outriders?
Like,
I think Outriders
wasn't it 1 week before? Like, it was. We found out really soon before launch. It was, and I want to say it was maybe a week, maybe 1 week ahead of launch. Like, by the way, Outriders is coming to Game Pass.
Because people had already pre-ordered it.
Yeah,
that was another problem. But Xbox is so great. You can buy the game and play it for an hour and still get a refund sometimes. But you can always cancel a pre-order from Xbox. That community. What do you call it? A public service announcement, guys. I hear this all the time. Like someone said, "Oh, I pre-ordered Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, and now that San Andreas is coming to Game Pass an hour after the announcement," I said, "Just go get a refund. They're totally fine." Dying Light 2 would be amazing. I really hope they're trying to get that. They need something like that.
I think that'd be a good get. I also, I remember when they announced the Halo Infinite release date, though, and it was 1 day after Dying Light 2's original delayed release date. And I feel like, again, maybe nobody cared, but I feel like Xbox had the marketing deal for Dying Light 2, and for them to put out Halo Infinite 1 day after Dying Light was kind of brutal to Techland. So I can't imagine that nobody at Techland was at least a little annoyed by that scheduling. But I know that stuff's complicated, different genres. People are going to buy both. But yeah, for Xbox to have the marketing deals with Dying Light 2 and then have Halo come out the next day, little brutal in my eyes. But I don't know. I don't know what the conversations were, and it got delayed again anyway. I don't know that Halo had anything to do with that, but
obviously they don't just pick a date. out of thin air. Like there's a lot of thought that goes behind when a game comes out, like quarter financials and all that stuff. Like that's why it takes so long to hear a release date. So
Yep.
yeah, they had to really they had to work for that one.
Super chat from Harji Chani, who says, also, is Game Pass sub increase tied to number of consoles sold? Would someone buy an Xbox One S now or wait for the series consoles? Could be a factor. We do know that statistically, the attach rate of Series X and S console owners with Xbox Game Pass is way higher. So they have seen the most success when it comes to someone outside of Xbox or someone who already had an Xbox buying a Series X and S and signing up for Xbox Game Pass. So there is a correlation there. But again, with xCloud coming to, all the consoles that are out in the wild right now, all the Xbox One S's and X's, do you think that we'll see a resurgence once cloud streaming is fully available on these consoles, when people realize that they don't have to necessarily buy a new console to play these new games?
A resurgence of
people who currently own an Xbox One who aren't signed up to Game Pass, I guess I'll say specifically.
Well, I've seen some wacky numbers, like when I've done polls, and it seems like about 40% of people in my YouTube audience have not been able to get a Series X or an S, or they won't get an S because they're hardcore. They want the X. So there's a good chunk of, I would say 20 to 30 million Xbox people that can't get the console. Well, maybe that wouldn't be true as far as who's hardcore, but there's probably 10 or 15 million people who are really frustrated that they can't get a Series X right now. So all those people who are still on the older console, I haven't tried this yet, but I would like to know what that looks like on a great TV streaming, because you're playing on an Xbox Series X on the server.
Yes.
It's not the Lockhart, it's the Series X hardware. So you're going to get, the 60 or 120 frames. I don't know if you get 120.
They've confirmed so far it's 1080 60 is what they're doing on the Series X blades. But as we've seen with other cloud streaming services who started with lower resolutions, lower frame rates, they're now offering 120. So I think, it'll continue to evolve and adapt.
Here's the deal with that. Like right now, you don't need to settle for cloud gaming on your console because there are very few, there's almost no next gen only games. And so it might kind of like just work itself out in the next year or so when games are only on next gen consoles. The supply will be eased and it'll be easier to get one, let's say next summer or next spring when they're next gen only. It'll probably be easier to get a console than it is right now in the holiday season.
Yeah, I'm hoping the timing works out that once we start getting stuff like Redfall, which correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's going to be the first big new release on Series X and S that is a next gen only release.
Yeah, first party as well.
Because we saw Flight Sim, I guess that could count as one, but I think that when it comes to brand new big releases, I think Redfall is going to be the first for Xbox.
And it's supposed to be summer, but it's probably going to be landing closer to Starfield, I bet.
Yeah.
Just knowing how things are, that no one is safe from delays from what we've gone through the past year and a half. So I would expect Redfall to come out later in 2022 instead of earlier. But yeah, you're right. And hopefully that supply problem is eased up for Xbox. PlayStation might take longer, but who knows?
Here's a fun super chat from DS Omen, who says, you wake up in the year 2031. How many studios does Microsoft own? Who is their biggest competitor? And who is the most successful gaming company? Go wild. All right, Colt, 2031. How many studios does Xbox own?
In 2031?
2031.
In 10 years from now?
10 years from
now. Probably 30. Yeah, or I would say 28. I wouldn't imagine them owning too many more studios. They're going to be packed enough as it is with content. It's not about them managing. It's really about them having plenty of content for the money they're spending. What was the other question?
Who is their biggest competitor, and then who is the most successful gaming company in the year 2031?
Oh, I'm going to defer to you. Who is their biggest competitor?
In the year 2031, Sone 10 Box, a conglomerate of Xbox, Microsoft, and PlayStation, have merged into one entity. There are no consoles anymore. Everything is via the cloud. Everything is via a nano chip embedded in your neck, and that is how you play all games moving forward. There is no competition because there is only one gaming company left in existence because everyone has been absorbed by this.
I'm going to make a bold claim because I've said in 2035 that a lot of us hardcore people will be playing most of our games on our TV with a wireless controller with no console.
I agree.
Yeah. And I think people get upset when I say that, but I'm like, you don't miss your CDs. And I think that technology is not as advanced, but when you look at technology grows exponential. It's an exponential curve. It doesn't just go up in a ramp. Like, things are always getting bigger and better. Internet is getting more improved, and the infrastructure is always growing year on year. And to keep you from being upset about streaming, where you just sync your controller to the Xbox app on your TV, you're not going to be upset because you don't mind it and you don't miss it. You just load up your games, and it just works. It's great. You just enjoy it. And I think in 2035 or so, that's probably where we're going to be sitting, that you don't have to buy a $500 console. And maybe they fold that into the price of games. Maybe games are $70 or $80 then, because they're part of the, I don't know. They don't need to get you a console to offset it. What am I saying? Think about it. Like, Xbox doesn't need you to buy the console. In fact, I think Phil Spencer's like, we're going to make another console after this one. We're already in the works. They already said they're designing the successor to the Xbox Series S and X. So that's already happening. But you got to think about Phil Spencer's and Jason Ronald sitting there going, we don't need to spend millions and millions of dollars on R&D to build you a box to lose $2 or break even on it to bring you in. We can get you on cloud. We can get you on mobile. We can get you on PC. We can get you on browser. We can get you on a smart TV. But if you buy a console, we want you to have one. I think they'll still make consoles for people who can't, because they don't want to leave people out of the gaming equation. So there may still be consoles, but my point was in 2035, a lot of us who are hardcore probably won't feel like we need one. Isn't that crazy to say?
It's not, because I'll tell a funny but sad kind of truth about my life is there are movies that I want to watch that I own. I own the Blu-ray. I own the DVD for them. And if it's not on a streaming service, I just won't watch it. I'll find something else to watch. That is how much I don't want to go dig for any sort of disc. And as we've seen with everything, music, movies, television, gaming, for most people, not the hardcore. If we're eliminating the hardcore.
No, you're right. The majority. Yeah.
Convenience is the most important thing. Convenience is more important than quality. Convenience is more important than anything. And if you can tell someone that they just need a controller and then they can open the Xbox app on their TV and play anything they want, that is going to make Xbox way more successful. That is going to be how people prefer to play, because it's going to get to a point where that's the standard, and you're not going to go want to, deal with your dedicated console anymore. You're just going to have the app on your TV, and that's it. And that's the beauty of it. And it will take a while for it to be almost as good as a native experience. We've already seen huge strides there with Xbox. The update with the Series X server blades, it's close. It is so close to a native experience, and we are still early in this kind of experiment. So if they can get it out of beta, if they can get it so you can't tell, maybe there is a difference if you have a side-by-side comparison, but if they can get it where you don't feel it when you're playing, then it's game over. Everyone's going to just want that app, and that's it.
I also don't think that PlayStation and Xbox really love designing a console, cranking out the chips they're manufacturing, boxing in and shipping them, and retail markup, and pressing discs and making cases, and because they'll sell you the game digitally for $60, but they'll sell you the the physical version for $60, right? So they're losing a few cents on every game that's physical copy. They probably don't love that. And as people move into digital, it's just the way it's going to be. And I used to love, I'm so old, but I used to love my, I forgot what it's called, but I had like the snap open CD case in my car, and it had like the rubber. It was so famous back in the mid 90s when I was young. I used to love my CD collection of like 50 of my favorite CDs underneath the seat in my car. And now I love grabbing my phone, plugging it into my my Android CarPlay or whatever it's called, Android Autoplay, and just listening to my music through Spotify. I love it. And gaming should be that way too. And I think it will be. Just a matter of time.
Yep, I remember having a binder, 128 discs in the backseat of my car. So when me and the squad were rolling around and we had to like find what we wanted to listen to, we had dudes in the backseat going through pages and pages of discs to find the bangers.
Pages and pages of new metal.
Exactly. Slipknot, Korn. Just going through pages and pages to find what they wanted to. And now I can, like you said, just have on my phone anything. Literally anything I can imagine that I want to listen to, I can pull it up instantly. And
with a voice too. I'm driving, I can say, tell Spotify to play, Air Supply. And yeah. I'm ready to rock.
All right, so transitioning into our next topic here. Who wants to talk about some new Xbox games? Colt, you want to talk about some new Xbox games? We got some details from good old Jez Corden and Jeff Grubb have been slowly kind of trickling out details on this cloud-first MMO being developed from Xbox in partnership with Finnish developer Mainframe. And so the overall sense of this project, it's designed to scale based on the device you're using. So we talked earlier about the potential for cloud and how Xbox wants to go where the players are regardless of their device. This is going to be the first MMO developed with devices in mind. So gameplay mechanics, the scope of the game is going to adapt and change based on what device you're using. Let's say you're just chilling on your lunch break at work. You want to do some crafting. You want to harvest some resources, do some crafting, open up your phone, bam, do it from there. You get home with the squad, you jump online and you do the raids on your PC or your console. So this game is going to drastically change based on the device you're using. So, Colt, this game is rumored to be called, is rumored to be called PAX Day, and it's another Dragon MMO from Xbox. So, do these new details about this kind of cloud-first strategy and this adaptable play style, does that excite you?
No, it sounds really quirky. I used to play Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and then the mobile app had a thing where you could send your ships on little battles, and when you came back, you'd have extra currency in-game to buy like upgrades. So I was stuck at work, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I understand that, but this probably doesn't fit the type of game that I'm super excited about. But like, what if it becomes some big smash hit? I don't know. It's just one of those things where obviously you're looking at Microsoft saying, hey, this is a neat idea that kind of works with the direction we're going. Let's bring that in. And you have to remember, like, they're throwing it in with like 300-400 games that are coming to Game Pass. Like, they just throw that in the mix.
Yeah.
And sometimes Xbox grabs a game out of the hat. They're like, well, let's see if this does anything. Sometimes they do that. The most of the stuff they're putting in there is there for a reason, that people really want that. It's a big draw. I think this might be one of those, let's see what this does.
Yeah, I think this sounds like they're using this project to establish best practices for their cloud games moving forward. So we talked about those East Asian markets. We talked about the markets that primarily use mobile. Games like this are designed for that audience, where you can, no matter what device you're using, you can play this game, you can get sucked into this game. And I think that's going to be huge for a certain group of people. Not necessarily the console hardcore per se, but it'll be really interesting to see how this is received and what the actual different gameplay elements look like. You talked about Black Flag. The gameplay elements on the app were not that interesting or that compelling or that worthwhile. So we have to believe that if it's being developed from the ground up to utilize that it is doing something compelling for each device. And it's not just this gimmicky, I'm gonna cut some wood. I'm gonna tap my phone and get some wood from these trees.
I craft some potions for the Ring of Forgetfulness.
We got a raid later tonight, so I want to make sure we have plenty of armor. But I have to imagine
ingots, I'll place my iron ingots in my phone and craft some. Yeah.
I have to imagine that Xbox sees huge potential in this if they are partnering with this developer to make this a best practices for their cloud games moving forward. Let's talk about some updates on a kind of infamous cloud game right now, potentially in development from Xbox, and that is Kojima's cloud-based title. Jeff Grubb has shared some new details on this, some updates on where that stands. Still says the letter of intent has been signed, but it sounds like the final negotiations for this project are still ongoing, and that the best practices established by this PAX Die game could be implemented into Kojima's cloud game. So because of all that, he has said that we probably won't see it at the Game Awards. So it sounds like whatever the state of this Kojima game is, it's not in active development. It sounds like, according to these updates. So we know there are a lot of things pointing to this project, pointing to Kojima working with Xbox. And now it's just coming down to a matter of logistics and then a matter of probably scope at this point. So again,
I'm a little worried about a Kojima game because he's always pushed the envelope, and I feel like sometimes he pushes it in too far. I think, okay, hear me out. I'm probably buying Death Stranding for PS5 with that director's cut. Doesn't it come out the end of the year?
It's out now, actually. Came out at the end of September.
Okay, so I don't have time to play that, but I want to. I want to give that a fair shake. Solid Rev, who's I think is a great guy, so brutally honest. He loves that game, so I want to give it a fair shake. But Kojima pushes the games industry like in really strange ways. And when I hear about this thing that Jeff Grubb is teasing about Kojima, I'm thinking, my first thought is he going like so far beyond gaming where it's like just really strange? Like he says, Death Stranding is what would he call it? A connection game? What was the word he used? Do you remember?
A strand game.
A strand game. Yeah, so it's all about connecting people through strands. And everyone's like, huh? But like he's doing a cloud-based game. It could be like really far out there. And but still Death Stranding is really popular. So I hope whatever he's doing for Xbox still has a part of it that has mass appeal where people are like, okay, I can get into that, instead of like thinking, whoa, I'm not sure. I'm not sure like this is something I would even want to play. That would be like a horrible financial venture for Xbox to let Kojima run crazy, because he wants to become like the most cinematic game developer ever. And he does some of the most unique stuff that I don't know. I played a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5, and I was like, toward the end, I was like, I just can't do this anymore. And I stopped playing the game. It's just way too out there for me, and it's just not my type of thing. I don't know how to say it any other way.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Fonz in the chat, he agrees, I'm sure.
That's what I love about the potential future of Xbox is that we can get big budget weird games. We don't have to worry about, is this game going to make X dollars? Is it going to sell X copies? Xbox, Game Pass, and Xbox, as we've heard Phil Spencer again talk about in that interview last week, Xbox wants to experiment. They want to do, experimental titles. And I think this Kojima cloud game would absolutely fall into this. I don't love everything that Kojima does. Generally speaking, I haven't really loved. He does a lot of stealth, which again is not my cup of tea, and that's why I haven't really loved Metal Gear Solid. I respect it, I appreciate it, I'm excited for the fans who love it, but the premise of a weird ass Kojima game with a big pile of money and someone just letting Kojima be weird, I'm for that. I want to live in the world where we get more games like that have big budgets but aren't for everyone necessarily.
Such a setup for like you were going to say something super negative and then you turned it into a really positive, encouraging outlook.
Yeah,
and I did not see it coming. Like,
plot twist.
And then turned into a hug. Yeah, it's like really weird, quirky. This guy's like off his rocker, making the best games ever. No,
but
no.
That's the world I want to live in.
I agree as well.
If Xbox can do that, that will make me so happy and so proud of that team at Xbox, because that tells me that all of the things they've been talking about with creatives, partnering with developers, enabling these teams to make the games that they want to make. If we start seeing some of those, that'll tell me that that wasn't just marketing PR. That wasn't just but those weren't buzzwords. That was the mission statement of Xbox. And that's why Xbox is going to be the best place to play. Because again, it's the crux of today's episode is not every game is for you. Not every game will ever be for you. And that is totally okay. But the more that Xbox makes, the higher the chances of them making a game that is for you, no matter who you are.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Thank you.
Being so selfish.
Yeah, Colt. It's not about you, okay? It's about all the weirdos like me who just want to see some dumb nonsense that costs $50 billion to make.
And to be fair, like I know, like I talk the whole kumbaya thing, but I do feel it a lot where I'm like, what about me? What about me? I do that a lot as well.
We
but
all
I kinda
do.
try. Yeah, of course we want something that, like somebody was asking in the chat, like if I'm excited for Dying Light 2 or Dead Island 2, and like Dead Island gets made fun of by most everybody, but I really love the last one. I know the second one's going to look like garbage. I'm probably still going to pay full price for it and have fun in that campy, ugly-looking goofball game. Sometimes you just like games that suck, and other people, don't like them, and I love them. Maybe it just happens.
That's fine. We all love camp. We have our guilty pleasures from music and movies. Why can't we have our guilty
Phantom
pleasures?
Dust.
What did you say? What did you just say? That's not a guilty pleasure. That is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, the gold standard, highest rated meta game of all time.
Calm down. You're hyperventilating, Miles. Calm down. Phil Spencer was asked by IGN, I think, what's your dream game? And he said Phantom Dust with the robot from Outer Worlds. I'm like, Phil. Anyway.
That's why I love Phil. That's why I love Phil. And that's why I will never stop harassing everyone at Xbox. They have just a bag full of letters that I send them complaining that there's no Phantom Dust. And, I will not rest. I will not rest until Phantom Dust exists. Okay? As long as I'm in this space talking about video games, I will be yelling at Xbox to make Phantom Dust. And that is something I promise. And there are 5 people in the world who champion that. So.
Oh, bless your heart. You're great.
Super chat here from JD Gamer, who says, I would love a strategy where Xbox buys the studios and publishers that make sense, and second-party titles and even larger third-party exclusives from Square, Capcom, Namco, FromSoft, and Ubisoft. Basically, everyone. Why isn't Elden Ring an exclusive, huh? Huh, Phil? What's going on?
I mean, they have marketing rights for it, right?
Who knows?
Don't they have? I thought they had marketing rights, and then
that was the speculation since they revealed it. But as we saw with the whole Jeff Keighley show, Summer Game Fest thing, that there was some drama involved that made it so it can't be on an Xbox stage or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Well, whatever.
Yeah. Super chat here from Ramon G. Just a reminder, guys, Redfall and Starfield are coming and will be here before you know it. Colt, let's team up for Redfall, brother.
Yes, I would love to. I can't wait to see that game.
Make sure I think I see a super chat. All right. Y'all killing it with these super chats. Appreciate it. Want to make sure I'm not missing anyone here. All right, Brian Hopkins. Just stopping past to throw some support behind 2 of my favorite creators on the interwebs. You guys are great. Keep it up. Love that. Love you. Thanks for popping in, showing some support.
Yes, thank you very much.
Ooh, okay. Ghostface Kill with a super chat that's going to transition perfectly into our next topic of new Xbox games. And they say, Wu-Tang is for the children. And speaking of Wu-Tang, y'all hear about this project Shaolin? our good buddy Jez Corden loves to just tease, loves to trickle out these little details about Xbox projects. He mentioned a codename Project Shaolin recently. And then on a recent episode of Games Beat Decides, our good pal Jeff Grubb said probably more than he should have said, and it seems that this Project Shaolin is potentially an action RPG with an anime style, starring or featuring or set in the universe of the Wu-Tang Clan. So, Colt, this is reportedly being developed by Brass Lion Studios, and reportedly is going to be an action RPG in an anime style. Does that do anything?
Studio?
What's up?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, does this do anything for you? Are you excited about the possibilities of an anime art style Wu-Tang action RPG?
Okay, so I have to make a confession, because people get mad when I put out obscure tweets. But a couple months ago, I said I'm hearing about a new Xbox game, and everyone's like, "Oh, what could it be?" This was it. This was the Wu-Tang game.
Project Shaolin.
Yep.
So
yeah, a Wu-Tang like MMO or Wu-Tang. Yeah, so weird.
So did you ever play Afro Samurai on Xbox 360?
No, but I've seen quite a bit of the gameplay.
That art style was killer. Like? If they get close to that art style for an action RPG in the Wu-Tang, because the mythos and the lore of Wu-Tang is very martial arts centric, as we've seen here. The title's Project Shaolin. If it is that so art style and like a kind of bigger scale
looking
action
like an
RPG
thing, yeah.
Again, this probably isn't going to be a humongous, massive quadruple A title, but again, this gets me excited about Xbox. If someone told you 5 years ago that Xbox was going to pay to make a anime Wu-Tang action RPG, what would you have said? Would that even be something you would ever consider?
Tell me that.
Five years ago?
Oh, 5 years ago? I would say Wu-Tang? Now? I would have said that 5 years ago.
Wu-Tang is for the chill. So, again, I'm excited about this because this shows me that Xbox is not afraid to throw money down on
it's weird though. Like
weird projects.
What was Wu-Tang's like peak of their popularity?
It never dwindled. Some people still regard Wu-Tang as the greatest rap group of all time. I don't know. I would say realistically, they late 90s, early 2000s. I would say is kind of the pinnacle peak of Wu-Tang. But so again, it's weird.
The first thing I thought was Wu-Tang must have been really pushing for this. Like, we want to make a video game. Like, they know video gaming is huge, and they're like, we've done everything. We've done all of our music and our ventures, and now we want to be in the video game space. And then they reached out to someone, make it happen, and then here we are. That was my first instinct.
Well, Wu-Tang has dabbled in making films. A lot of the members have directed films, starred in films. They've also had some experimental, super small scale projects in the video game space as well. So it seems like this is potentially the first time we'll get a bigger budget Wu-Tang title. And it's exciting, Cole. Again, it's not for everyone, but there are people who are excited about the possibilities of I've heard people say that they are hoping this will be like Jade Empire, but set in the Wu-Tang universe, and I'm just like, okay, all right.
It could be much smaller. I mean, wasn't Snoop Dogg in True Crime, or in one of the True Crimes?
Oh yeah,
the True Crime game.
I think you're right.
And someone said 50 Cent was in that Bloodline game, or Bulletproof, Blood in the Sand. Yeah,
Blood in the Sand.
I remember that one got banned pretty hard. Vin Diesel was in Driver Wanted, or whatever it was called. Not driver. I can't remember what it's called. He was in like a carjacking game. I don't know what it was called. It was, I don't know. I played it a little, but played the demo. Yeah, they've had some of these celebrities in, but those games never really like get very big. Like, what's the biggest celebrity game that's been out? That's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Death Stranding is probably the biggest game that stars a Hollywood celebrity that, you know.
But it's not. he's a different character. He doesn't play himself. Like,
Yeah, it's not Norman Reedus as Norman Reedus in Death Stranding.
right? Yeah, yeah. It's not Norman Reedus as the character, but
So
yeah,
you're
it's
saying
so
Project
funny.
Shaolin is not going to drastically increase Xbox Game Pass subscribers? Is that what you're saying, Cole?
No, that's my prediction. No, I
Oh, okay.
I know
Wow.
Wu-Tang's big, and like people are Wu-Tang forever, and
Wow.
um,
Wow, dude.
Shaq Fu.
Shaq Fu, another banger.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just funny if you think of like celebrities that are in games as themselves. Snoop was in True Crime. Yeah, they canceled the game. Yeah,
Hmm.
maybe he never made it in. Yeah, but there's someone says Keanu in Cyberpunk. Yeah, we know how that went.
Oh
I still
yeah,
love that
yeah,
game.
that's true.
Yeah,
So yeah, fun. So Xbox,
it's a weird concept.
they
Yeah,
have
for
some new
sure.
exclusives in the works. They're not afraid to experiment, and I'm even more excited about the future of Xbox, knowing that. Again, I'll tie this back to Phantom Dust. If we can get a Wu-Tang action RPG but not Phantom Dust, red flag. Red flag from me. I'm calling a technical foul. Technical foul. Colt. Xbox is coming up on its 20th anniversary. There's been a lot of speculation about what we might see, what our hopes and dreams are. And this week, Xbox confirmed that they are hosting a 20th anniversary stream at 10 a.m. Pacific time on November 15th. They have said that there will be no new game reveals, just to set expectations straight out of the gate. There will be no new game reveals. So with that being said, what are you expecting to see? And what are you hoping to see?
Obviously, we will finally see campaign gameplay
You think this
a
is the
month before
spot?
release
You think this
for
is it?
Halo Infinite. Yeah, I think so. I think that'll be their biggest reveal at this. Or they won't have any reveals, but that would be the reveal. That would be the big moment for the event. Is to show. Knowing Xbox, they'll probably show about 3 minutes of campaign gameplay and then just black screen. I hate how they do that. I think that Xbox should get into the 15 to 18 minute gameplay segment and like let you. This is gonna be an open world game. Do what they did with Ghost of Tsushima and show a scripted playthrough of the open world for 15 minutes and describe how you will live in Zeta Halo Ring and how you will be able to free form and take missions on and take outposts on the way you want with different gear. Like, I think that's super important. But knowing Xbox, they'll show maybe a few minutes of gameplay, and then they'll say, let's wait for the whole game. That's not how I do marketing. I think Halo Infinite's going to be huge. I think the campaign's going to be absolutely impressive, and they need to just show it off and stop holding back. I think they're afraid. And 343's gun shy for a good reason. They've made mistakes, and they know their fans are super critical. Super critical, where I feel like studios don't feel comfortable with sharing their game as freely as they would, because the internet is brutal. But 343 needs to be brave, get a long extended gameplay shown, and show that at the 20th anniversary.
I want to see, and I expect to see, Halo campaign. Again, by that point, it'll be essentially 3 weeks before the game launches. So if they can't really use the excuse that we're polishing it up still before we show it. Like, if you're still polishing that campaign 3 weeks before and you can't show it, then I know games are coming in hot. That's the reality. Video game development is really weird right now. Remote work for some studios has been incredibly hard to adapt to, so I'm not downplaying these teams at all. My stance has been and always will be give the teams whatever time they need. Let the teams release a game that they are completely happy with. That has always been my stance. But that being said, with Halo shipping on December 8th, I believe that this will be where we see campaign. What I would love for them to do, and this would be, I think, the ultimate clapback to the kind of concerns and criticisms over the first showing of the Halo Infinite campaign, which was exactly what you wanted to see. You described these long slices, these walkthroughs of the environments, these 15-minute gameplay sections. That was exactly what Halo Infinite did, and it was not received incredibly well by everyone. If Xbox did that exact same sequence, showing what they have improved, I think that would be the ultimate kind of, hey, you have no reason to be concerned. You have no reason to worry, this is what we have done in the time that we delayed the game. This is how good it looks now. Here's the exact same run we're showing you, and here's everything that's been improved. If they did that, in my eyes, I think that would be the ultimate kind of testament to the confidence of that game.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Are we getting a demo? Think we're going to give us a campaign demo?
They were supposed to last year. Major Nelson said that that was like a tease for the demo.
It was. They said press start to begin demo. Like that was
yeah.
So intentional.
My prediction is no, they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
They've let all these people play the flighting of Halo Infinite. I think they're probably made a decision that instead of getting a demo ready for the public, we should just make sure that all of us are polishing the game and rounding off all the corners before release. Because that game's already coming in, missing campaign co-op and Forge. So everything else has to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, they've been in shutdown mode for a while, which meant they had to cut core features to make sure that what they were shipping at launch was very tight, very polished. So again, I think a campaign demo would be incredible. As we saw with the multiplayer, that quelled any concerns that anyone had. As soon as they got their hands on it and played it, they said, okay, Halo Infinite feels good, looks good. I'm excited about Halo Infinite's multiplayer. If we could get that ahead of launch for the campaign, I think it would probably do the same thing, but I don't know that we will. But I do think we'll get some gameplay, a new campaign trailer as part of this 20th anniversary stream, because Xbox and Halo, they are sharing this 20th anniversary. Halo Combat Evolved launched with the original Xbox, so it's got to be a big part of the show. Do you think we're going to get any other updates from any other Xbox Game Studios titles as part of this anniversary stream?
Yeah. Well, they said that there's no new game reveals. So whenever they say that, like any game that they have already shown is fair play to show. Crud, I don't know. I haven't given this a lot of thought because I think this event is mostly about what we've done over the past 20 years, not what we're going to do on year 21. So I would expect most all of this event to be celebrating the original Xbox, the 360, maybe talk about the Kinect and talk about the different consoles and the different games they've put out under the Xbox brand. I think it's just going to be a celebration event and just kind of take you down memory lane of what they've done over the past 20 years. So
do you think we're getting a big batch of back compat titles? That's been some big speculation recently.
I don't know. I don't think so. I wouldn't assume that this event is about sharing with you new information and new things to look forward to, even if it's back compat. I'm just erring on the side of conservative. So if I was sometimes I wish that I had a say in what's going on in these events. Like, if it was up to me, I would want to give Xbox fans like, hey, let's celebrate what we've done and let's give you some stuff to look forward to. But I think the way that Xbox does these things, this is a big celebration of what we've experienced over 20 years. So not a lot of new info to take home.
Yeah,
Do you agree with me?
I'm a little torn because I think a 20th anniversary celebration would be the ideal place to drop some new back compat titles or announce some new back compat features to kind of pay tribute to the legacy of Xbox, saying here are all these great games to play. Now you can revisit some of these in a new way or in a way you couldn't before. So I'm hoping there is some sort of legacy news there for the longtime Xbox fans. And I don't know any of this for sure, but I would hope that part of that is at least a small batch of backwards compatible titles that are coming, like noteworthy ones that have been skipped. But I think you're right. I think most of this will be a celebration, as they've said in this broadcast, of 20 years of Xbox, of 20 years of Halo, looking back at milestones, looking back at memories, and then maybe we'll get a few new reveals that are not like necessarily game related. But as we've seen with, the Adidas, with all these kind of the mini fridge, which we'll talk about here in a sec, a lot of these kind of just fun things to celebrate 20 years of Xbox. I think that's mostly what it'll be. And I hope they cap it off. The grand finale, I hope, is that Halo Infinite campaign saying, thank you for being with us for 20 years of Xbox. It's been an honor, blah, blah, blah. And here's what the future looks like. Bam. campaign trailer of Halo Infinite. Crowd goes wild. Everyone claps. And we wait 3 weeks to play Halo Infinite, baby.
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to get to a couple super chats here, unless you got any further notes or comments on this. Okay. Mr. Joanna Dark says, I couldn't catch the show live today. It's my daughter's B-Day. Well, happy B-Day. I want to say hi to the GOAT, Miles Dompier, and the great Colt Eastwood. Happy Chaturday. Look at this. This dude's stopping in on his daughter's birthday. That is legend status awesome. Right there. Yep. He also says, please make sure you go and vote for Miles Dompier, the GOAT, for the Game Awards Future Class of 2021. Your vote is truly appreciated. Good Lord. Appreciate you, Mr. Joanna Dark, out here fighting the old good fight. All right, Colt. Yep. Final topic of the show. It's heavy, it's heated, but we got to talk about it.
Oh, I'm not ready. Go ahead.
The Xbox mini fridge, Colt. Did you get one? Did you fight the crowds? Did you fight the bots? Did you lock one down?
Oh, why do you have to hurt me so much?
No, Colt, say it ain't so.
Oh my gosh, I tried. I was checking out my phone an hour before everything went up. They put out the link. They're like, oops, that link's not live yet. So I just kept refreshing. And then 37 seconds later, out of stock. Yeah, I was really, really frustrated. Like, I have $100. I want to buy a mini fridge. Let me secure one. It's so frustrating right now when I know that. Let me say this. I know there's people that want to buy new consoles or new graphics cards or mini fridges, and they don't have the money because the past year and a half or 2 years have been really challenging for people who may have normally been able to buy things they wanted, who lost their job or have had their hours reduced or whatever, because it's been a terrible time. And then there's the people that have enough money to buy things they want, and they can't because retailers don't care if scalpers and bots are picking up all of the things because they are getting their sale regardless. Target doesn't care. And I don't blame them for not caring because they're still making the sale. They just need to make sure when they get supply in, they want to unload it to customers. And if bots and scalpers are picking them up and they're being sold on the aftermarket, they don't care. They're not going to come up with ways to fix that. They just don't care. And I don't blame them because why would they? That's where we live right now.
Exactly. It's a tough situation. Again,
did you get one?
I see. I already have one. I got the
you've got the Zoa one.
I got the Zoa one, so I've big deal. I've had the fridge for like a year, whatever. But I didn't try. But they do look really cool. I'm glad that the interior is green and the overall like improvements they've made since. So it looks like it is a better product overall, which is exciting. And I know you're upset about the situation with pre-orders, but Aaron Greenberg and the team at Xbox have said that the pre-orders were a super small number of the overall units that they'll have available. And this isn't some limited release, and you'll most likely be able to walk into a store this holiday season and get one. So at least take some solace there in the fact that pre-orders aren't the end-all be-all. If you didn't get a pre-order, there's still a chance you'll get one. And again, I don't want to tell people how to spend their money, but this whole situation with everyone scalping everything is so absurd. And the fact that people are buying things at these scalper prices is even more mind-boggling. Like the fact that people are paying $800, $900, $1,000 for a PS5 or a Series X, that is why people are doing it. That is why people are buying every single unit that they can, because then they can dictate what that price is. And so the biggest thing is, please don't. Please, if you have someone, if a friend is desperate, just please don't. I know it sucks. Availability sucks. But we live in this market where people are going to just keep doing it over and over and over. How are you scalping a mini? Why are you buying a $100 mini fridge and reselling it? How is that getting resold? The Nintendo 64 controller for the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, $50 being resold for $150 online. It's disgusting. I can't stand it. Scalpers add nothing to the economy. They are a leech on society, and Please don't support them. Do not give these
Yeah.
people any money. They don't deserve money. They are not adding a value to anyone. They are just taking everything they can, using their credit card to buy up everything they can, and I hope they sit on it. I want to live in a world where they spent $10,000 on all this stuff and they can't resell it. Now they can't pay. Now they can't pay their rent because they spent $10,000 on mini fridges and they can't resell them. But sorry, side tangent on scalpers.
I mean, the scalpers can't lose because they're not going to lose money. They're not going to sit on them and not sell them. At the very worst, a scalper can sit on it for a certain amount of time and then sell it at regular cost, and then they don't lose any money. So if you're a scalper, you can't lose. Like, you can buy a bunch of them and you know you'll at least make some money. And that's where it's crummy, you know. It's really sucky. So like someone said in the chat, if you don't buy from scalpers, it'll stop it, but I don't know if you can't fix it at this point. Unless retailers really wanted to like allow you to, I don't know. I just saw a guy that tried to get 250 fridges with like all of his bots, and he said he had 150 secured, and then 117 or 115 mini fridges were actually successfully purchased. So he put out that many attempts, and in the end got like half of them secured, and then he's gonna go throw those on eBay and stuff. So it's a terrible thing that's been created by shortage, and it's never gonna go away. It'll be a new problem forever.
Warms your heart. Warms your heart,
doesn't it?
I used to work back in the day for Fred Meyer in Washington State in the home electronics department, and we had yeah. And so I was a department manager.
I worked at a Fred Meyer in Washington State.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Shout out to Freddy's, good old Freddy's.
Yeah.
And we had to work the Ticketmaster kiosk. And there was one individual who I knew was buying and reselling tickets. And he would come in and he would give me his credit card with his order, and he would print out 350 tickets. And I would have to sit there while the machine printed out 350 tickets, which took like 30 minutes. It was so slow, took so long. And so I reported this to Ticketmaster because they have a fraud alert line. I was like, hey, here's the dude's ID. Here's his order number. This dude had 350 tickets. Like, this is not personal use. This is not personal use. They said there was nothing they could do. And I'm like, there's nothing you could do? What do you... And so that's when I just lost all hope in humanity, when I was like, okay, well, if this guy can come in and buy 350 tickets and then resell them, and he would come in every single week and do the same thing. So I knew exactly what he was doing. But the fact that Ticketmaster was like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. Like you said, with Target, like, they're making their money. They have sold their tickets. They made their margins. It's out of their hands. So,
I mean, even Microsoft and Xbox on Xbox.com, like, they could do something, but I think I've said this like a couple months ago when we were trying to get the other in the consoles, but like, they could do something, but you have to be very careful about changing the way you purchase and then leaving some sort of loophole open where someone could crack in, or you can't change. Like, when you have purchasing for a console or products on Xbox's site, like, everything is secured down a certain way. And if they start changing their method to keep scalpers out, it could be something where they can't do it because it could leave them open to attacks or other things. And it's just not something that you can just set a new method that easily. And of course, Xbox is like, well, we just need to sell our product, and they're selling. There's not much else they can do. I think it's just it's a problem that we'll have to deal with forever, as long as scalpers are making money. And that guy who does the Ticketmaster thing, that's probably his full-time job.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to have a regular job.
Yep. That's his source of income. So, yeah, it's
chat,
annoying.
Do you guys want the mini fridge? Like, I know people are like, oh, it can only hold 10 or 12 cans of soda. Do I even need one? But, like, I'm excited about the way I wanted to put it over here, but I don't think I can put it on my audio equipment. But I wanted it in shot when I'm doing XNC or doing my videos, doing the podcast stuff. I don't know. I don't want to put it on my amp, but I wanted it in shot because I think it's cool looking, and the Xbox logo lights up.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Those little
I want one.
It's cool, and a lot of them will be available in stores. So don't give up hope if you didn't get one. There is still a chance. I think a big draw of this for the holidays is having that in-store branding. You walk into a Target, you see the Xbox mini fridge, you're like, oh, word? Because a lot of people outside of Twitter and social media probably have no idea that's even a thing. Like we know, we saw the memes, we joked about it, but the average person is going to walk into a Target and be like, $100 for an Xbox fridge? That's hilarious. I'm going to buy one for someone. And it's just going to be this kind of like cool, funny gift. There's going to be a bunch of humongous boxes under Christmas trees this year. People are going to open it up and be like, oh, Xbox. Oh, a fridge. Because imagine that prank. Your kid wants an Xbox Series X for Christmas. They're completely sold out of Series X's, but you walk into Target, you see the fridge. So you wrap this fridge. Your kid opens it up on Christmas, sees the Xbox Series X kind of branding, gets excited, and then realizes that it's a fridge.
Place to put your cheese sticks and your Go-Gurts. Yeah.
All the Mountain Dews on deck. Or for the people above the age of 21, all your ice cold brewskis when you got the squad over playing Halo this holiday.
Brewskis. Yeah, I want one, Miles. So I'm hoping in December I can just order one. I don't know. I have a feeling that even the mini fridge is not going to be sitting on store shelves in Target.
Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope, Colt. We're going to get you that fridge no matter what it takes.
All hands on deck, right?
All hands on deck. And with that, we are coming to the end of this episode of Xbox Chaturdays. To all the amazing people who tuned in live, who are dropping stuff in the chat, dropping super chats, hanging with us, you're amazing. I appreciate everything you do. Some housekeeping for me. I am taking a vacation starting next Friday. I will be out for my first legit vacation in like probably 2 years. So I'm incredibly excited, taking some time off, and I will be missing 2 weeks of Xbox Chaturdays. So the next 2 Saturdays, there won't be episodes, but we will be back in November. Colt, for all the lovely people joining us, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me at Colteastwood on YouTube, where I do production videos about gaming news. And I also have a podcast like Miles. I try to be like Miles, where I interview people like Miles and other people in the games industry and community. So I do that on Monday nights, and I am just excited. We're going to be playing some really cool games here coming up. So I'll have content covering these new games, and I'm really excited, and I'm trying to blast through Far Cry 6 so I can be ready to play those new games. So thanks, Miles, for having me on. You're awesome.
You're awesome, Cole. I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone here. And gaming is good. Have a lovely weekend. Go play some video games, and we will catch you next week. Or not next week, 2 weeks. Take care.
Have a great vacation. Bye, guys.